Oh, Kirk Cousins, not again. The college football playoff bracket is out, and a thriller between the Bills and the Rams. It's time for Watch DA Live in your Sunday pig pile.
Your football Sunday has dwindled down to this. Just a bunch of busted bets and broken fantasy dreams. You need this. And we're here for you. Immediate reaction, big opinions, gang tackling. Be one with the channel. It's DA Sunday Pig Pie. Oink, oink, suckers.
Come one, come all inside the circus tent known as Watch DA Live. So glad you're here. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. That way you get notifications when we go live on Sunday nights or other times as well throughout the week. Hit us up, hit this button below. Make sure you are subbed and be one with the channel. Yes, I'm in the holiday spirit already. If you saw any of the social media videos or pictures from Friday night, or you were at Legends in New York City for the big office holiday party bash we threw for listeners for our SiriusXM show, you saw me rocking this sweet set of holiday threads. This would be an homage to one of the great Christmas specials ever, Pee-wee's Christmas special. That's right. If I just move the microphone away, you will see this is Pee Wee Herman and Magic Johnson in a sleigh ride together. Oh, yeah. That's right. Love it. Absolutely. Once upon a time, the Pee Wee's Christmas special, Magic Johnson was caught inside the magic desk, the magic screen, and Pee Wee had to go inside to save Magic from a snow monster which was chasing them both. It makes a lot more sense if you watch the special on YouTube. So go there after this show is done. Coming up tonight on the program, my friend Dan Wetzel, one of the best college football insiders in the business, on the 12-team playoff bracket now that it has been set. So let's get things cooking tonight. Make sure you get those comments going, because through the best commentary on the show throughout the night, we will give away some cool swag courtesy of Last Dive Bar. So make sure you get those little fingers typing, you elves. All right, time now to start things off with your Furious Five. It always begins with an element of Fitz magic. And what better time of the season for some magic than right about now? Here is the best fits of the day as the league entered the building. This is Caleb Williams, and that jacket, sweater that's just a lot going on there for the young QB. I mean, everybody's trying to look a little flashy, of course, because that's the way to do it. But boy, that's just a lot going on. Is that a video game final boss level? That's wow, loud, a lot of loud colors and graphics, and the Bears played nothing like that today. Very quiet from the Bears. This is Rams defensive end Kobe Turner, who is on The Masked Singer this season and finally unmasked this week. He kept it a secret from his teammates for weeks, and his character is named Goo. So he's rocking the Goo boots today. How about that? That's one of the pluses of playing your professional sports out in LA, is that on the side, your hustle can be being the Masked Singer. Kobe Turner. Kobe Turner was the Masked Singer. Who knew? That's nice. All those agents of the Rams and Chargers locker room being like, hey, yeah, he did it. And finally, Aaron Jones wearing a Vikings purple sombrero. Now we're talking, because that makes me think of quesadillas, makes me think of something delicious and spicy caliente, which would warm me up in this cold winter's night. I like that Aaron Jones, and obviously the fit worked, because the Vikings put up buku points today against the Atlanta Falcons. That is your Fitzmagic on the day. Nice job by executive producer Aiden Hatton, the Marquette Marvel, in assembling the Fitzmagic. If there's any fits that you want to make sure that we highlight, you know what? Send them to us, myself or Aiden, throughout the day on a Sunday, and we will try to get those up for Fitzmagic. Here's how you connect with the show. All of those social media handles we are monitoring throughout the day. On Twitter, at Damon Amendo. I should note that also on Threads and Blue Sky, you'll find me at Damon Amendo. So same handle there, same handle on Instagram as well, at Damon Amendo. That's easy enough. On the Facebook, you'll see the DA Show Facebook page. And email us. Why not? Because watchda@gmail.com takes firsthand support, feedback, response, reaction from you guys. So hit us up. watchda@gmail.com. All right, boys and girls, let's get into the day that has been around the NFL, Week 14. And we begin in Minnesota, where Kirk Cousins was a complete dud against his former team, the Vikings, as Minnesota runs and hides from the Falcons. I have been so tired of the Kirk Cousins truthers, even up until the last few weeks. But really coming into the season, they bothered me. They really bothered me because I felt like they were trying to convince us all of something that we all knew better. Kirk Cousins was a productive quarterback in Minnesota, but he was not getting the short end of the stick in terms of respect. And I just resented that narrative from certain media members or fans that somehow those of us who knew he had a ceiling, a very clear ceiling of whether you could win big with him or not, knew what we were seeing. And we were not seeing Kirk Cousins be a playoff caliber winner. We weren't seeing him in big spots, one-on-one, mano-a-mano duels against big quarterbacks in prime time. We knew the numbers were nice. The yards and touchdowns were fine. But that if you expected to win a Super Bowl, Kirk Cousins wasn't your man, and everything got for some reason, all types of convoluted. And I think it's because Kirk Cousins did a really good job of marketing himself, which is the great irony here. That Kirk Cousins actually, even though he's kind of a quiet, very non-flamboyant, very kind of low-key type of dude, actually marketed himself brilliantly and made people believe that by being dorky, he was cool, by being self-aware as being a nerd or a dad, that he actually had swag, but that was never true. He's a really nice guy, and I've said this for years. I would absolutely trust Kirk Cousins when I was away on vacation to bring in my mail, to water my plants, to feed my pets. I would not trust him to win a big game. And because he wore that chain, because he leaned into the dad thing, because Cousins always did a really friendly, nice interview, media guys started lapdogging him, and it never made any sense because they were trying to convince us that we were wrong. No. I rejected that principle before. I reject it again, and you saw it today. Now, did the Vikings fans have to boo Cousins? I mean, he never did anything wrong to them. They didn't want him anymore in Minnesota. At least out of that rate, the Falcons did. He had every right to leave. I don't know if we needed to boo the guy, but we saw today why the Vikings made the right choice in saying we're not going to keep mortgaging the farm for a guy that can't win big for us. So let's restart the clock and draft a guy. They went with J.J. McCarthy. They signed Sam Darnold to a short-term deal so he can be the guy to keep the seat warm for J.J., and it's proved to pay massive dividends. And when you see what Sam Darnold is doing this year with Minnesota, is it that obvious that actually it was not Kirk Cousins, it was the system and perhaps the wide receiver, or as Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson go off today. So the Vikings end up looking brilliant because they're better without Kirk Cousins. For the Atlanta Falcons, again, sold a bill of goods. that Cousins was the guy to unlock all the potential of this offense, and that somehow that was the last ingredient they needed in the ATL for Kyle Pitts and Drake London and Bijan Robinson to finally show out what they could do. And what we see is that ain't the case either. As over the last month, Cousins has been a complete dud, a complete drip, a complete gag. And for all of us who said, what are you doing drafting Michael Penix in April? Boy, does that look smart. Because would you want right now to be tethered to Kirk Cousins for the next 2, 3, 4 years without a backup plan? Man, there was nothing more alarming, jarring than watching today as the Vikings cruised and the Falcons snoozed, and the quarterbacks between them looked a lot different, did they not? And for the Atlanta Falcons, if we have to see them in the playoffs, we're all wearing nightmare for Christmas, right? I mean, does anybody need to see the Falcons in the postseason hosting a playoff game? The answer is no. We know how that's going to end. So please, Tampa Bay, we beg of you as an American football public, can you please win this division? Because none of us needs to see that matchup today, the Vikings or the Packers going to Atlanta and trucking the Falcons wild card Saturday. Believe me, you'll thank us later. All right, let's talk a little college football playoff, shall we? The college football playoff rankings are out. We have the field, and the only surprise that I think for a lot of people was that Alabama was left out when it was pretty obvious that Alabama was the brand it seemed like the committee wanted in. And so Bama being left out was the big storyline on the day. But for what we lost in brand recognition, we make up for with a bracket integrity. I couldn't sit here and tell you that at a neutral site, neutral field in the middle of January that SMU would beat Alabama or Clemson would beat Alabama. But Clemson got the automatic ticket punch by win of the ACC, so it came down to the Mustangs of the Tide. And if you skip Alabama ahead of SMU, what it tells you is that the regular season really doesn't matter. We're just putting in brands. Because Alabama, while obviously they have the lineage and the history and the star power, had 3 losses, and the last of which should be an elimination loss. When you lose by 3 touchdowns to Oklahoma, you do not belong in the postseason. You do not belong in the college football playoff. You just don't. And again, if you lined them up on a neutral site, I'm sure plenty of people would pick Alabama and maybe even the Tide to be favored. But if you just basically ignore what happens in the regular season, including getting embarrassed by a very mediocre OU team, then it really doesn't matter who you schedule, who you play, or what you do in September, October, November, even early December. All that matters is the type of brand that you are. So I think in terms of bracket integrity, they save themselves. I also think the committee probably put in SMU, knew they had to, because if you punish SMU for losing the ACC championship game on a 56-yard walk-off field goal, that it encourages other teams to actually not partake in their conference title game. Now, we have yet to see a team say, we're not going, we're forfeiting for no other reason than we want to protect ourselves, but that could happen. And if you run into that, then you really screw the pooch when it comes to these conference championships. And so if you're going to weigh the win of a conference championship as an automatic bid, then you better not punish a team for showing up and losing in a tight ball game and playing pretty well. So I think ultimately the committee got it right from a couple of different vantage points. This field, though, feels real weird for our first ever 12-team playoff, does it not? I love the one-party crasher being Boise State as the group of 5 champ. You know, I've got a soft spot for Boise. They've flown me out there twice to watch games, hosted me. KTIK out there in Boise was always one of our great affiliates on CBS Sports Radio. So I love seeing the Smurf Turf represented. I love seeing Ashton Genty represented. I love seeing that program in that city, which has been so good to me throughout my career, represented in the college football playoff. But now we're adding Indiana as an at-large, and we're adding SMU as an at-large, and we're adding Arizona State as an automatic bid for a year that has no Alabama, LSU, Michigan, USC. I mean, wow. That does feel a little bizarre, does it not? I mean, look, I'm at the point now where I'm never going to cry foul about a team that doesn't get into the playoff. Because if you can have 2 losses and still get in, and 3 losses is an elimination, stop crying. 3 losses should be an elimination. It really should. So I don't ever want to hear anybody saying, oh, we were the 13th best team and they didn't let us in. We were the 12th best team. They didn't let it. I mean, stop it. The door's never been open wider for anybody ever in college football. But how wide did we need it? Because Indiana, SMU, Arizona State, and Boise State make up a third of the 12-team playoff. Not exactly big brands in this playoff, okay? More on this with Dan Wetzel coming up here mere moments. As I just mentioned as well, the gripes are dead. I don't ever want to hear anybody like the Florida State Seminoles fans and administration last year saying, oh, we got screwed. Or Alabama this year, oh, we got screwed. Or Miami this year, oh, we got screwed. I mean, look, it doesn't take a lot to make the playoff. Indiana just did it. It doesn't take a lot. You could be SMU and be your first year in a power conference. All right? Yeah. 2 or 3 losses, you got no leg to stand on. I'm sorry, you just don't. We're at the point in time where I don't want to hear it. So for anybody that's still belly aching about, we were left out and we belong in, shut up. Shut up. We don't want to hear it. It's over. All right. We got to get into this with my friend Dan Wetzel. And coming up after Dan, we will react to this Bills and Rams barn burner. I'll tell you all about our Friday night at the office party as well. And we've got some Santo action going on today. And we've got some beam ups to get to. So a lot still on the table tonight. But we've got to welcome on my good friend, Dan Wetzel. He has written for college football, about college football for decades. He covers it for Yahoo Sports. His podcast is one of the best in the nation at covering it all. It is the College Football Inquirer via Yahoo Sports. So let's welcome him on right now to break down the 12-team bracket, everybody. Well, we have our bracket set now. The college football playoff has its 12 teams, its matchups, its destinations, and who better to break it all down than a longtime friend of mine? You read him at Yahoo Sports, also an excellent college football podcast, which is now available. Check it out because they break down everything about this college football playoff and have all season long leading up to it. It's the College Football Inquirer podcast, a really, really good listen. My friend Dan Wetzel joining us. Dan, how we doing?
Doing great, DA. Love the sweater.
Thanks.
Christmas.
I'm in the holiday spirit. This here is an image from the Pee-wee's Christmas special. This is Pee-wee Herman on one side, Magic Johnson on the other in a Magic sleigh ride. So I thought just to ring in the season.
Tis the reason for the season, I believe, is that very image. Very image. That is amazing. That is a great sweater.
Were you in support of the committee keeping SMU in after the loss and bouncing Bama?
I would love to come on here and have a really strong take, but I was fine with it, but I would have been fine the other way in some degrees, because I think it's a very, very close call, razor thin, and someone's got to make it. This is way preferable to like Florida State being 13-0 and we leave them out because their quarterback's injured and we don't think they'll play a good game. So I was fine with it. My issue is the reason why, and it makes intellectual sense that after 12 games, if you think SMU is better than Alabama, then SMU shouldn't have to play a 13th game when Alabama does not. And then by losing, you would get moved out behind Alabama, right? That just philosophically doesn't make any sense. My issue is that we have a weekly rating show that are mock rankings, like it's like a mock draft. You know how they say so-and-so sliding in the first round? Like nothing's happened in the draft yet. How can you slide when there's been no draft? It's all fake. So we have a fake ranking on 12 and it boxes the committee in to where they go, well, we can't move them behind him because last week we thought this. I wish they would get rid of the weekly rankings and have a more full, complete, and holistic view of the entire season and then make one determination. So it's a little different argument than just Alabama got screwed because they won this many games or whatever. Some of the criteria used should not be criteria. That would be my argument. But I don't know whether it would have changed whether SMU or Alabama gets in. Both are deserving and both have self-inflicted wounds. That's how it is.
I think both you and I have always enjoyed the chaos of college football, the fact that it's a bunch of different fiefdoms, it's a bunch of rogues, and that part of it gives it a sizzle, gives it a personality that the NFL does not have, except I didn't really love the extent of the politicking this year, and I thought after the loss last night when Rhett Lashley was saying it would be criminal if we were left out, criminal, I rolled my eyes. At the same time when he threatened, well, why would we play this game anyway? I did think to myself, is that why the committee has to keep SMU in? Because if you penalize a team for playing in its college football conference championship game, have you opened up Pandora's box to where teams, could they have started forfeiting their championship games?
Absolutely. And this has actually happened in the past. Wisconsin got moved out once for losing. A couple of years ago, USC got moved out for losing their championship game. Ohio State jumped in when Ohio State hadn't played. I wrote a column before the USC game. USC should just say they got COVID, can't play. It was back when COVID was a big thing, and you'd be in the playoff. Instead, they went and played Utah, lost, and got bounced. I mean, that's millions of dollars in that. So it's happened before. But again, he's right, but that shouldn't be weighing on. The only reason we know that they would have had to move SMU down and move behind Alabama is because we made them tell us what they thought before the season was over, because we want to promote the sport and have a television show each Tuesday night. It's the marketing tail wagging the entire sport. So that's kind of my point on this. If they just come out once and they go, hey, look, we know SMU played an extra game, but we look at their strength of schedule. I mean, like you can say 13 games is harder than 12. Not really. It's like if you go on a treadmill, right, and you run a mile at 1% in grade or you run a mile at 5% in grade, which one's harder? Well, it's not even close. So not all things are equal. And so, I don't know that SMU would have lost. Alabama would have won the debate over SMU. I don't know that Miami, Florida wouldn't have, or Ole Miss or South or others. I just know they should have had that debate when it's at the end, rather than we have to do this thing for 6 weeks because we want to create attention and television revenue. That's not a good reason on how to determine your playoff. So that should I think he's right, but it's also a bit of like, boy, it'd be a shame if something happened to your conference championship game. Like, it's extortion in a very minor way. But if he's going to bring up criminal charges that apparently, I'm not sure what statute this would have been, but creative DOJ, maybe they could have done something. I don't know. I don't mess with Coach Lashley, but this shouldn't have been a thing. You got to get rid of those weekly rankings. It's all backwards. It's just, and this is part of the chaos. Like you said, it's always chaotic. It's a total mess. What are we doing? We have 134 teams playing for one title, and there's only 12 spots in the playoffs. We have like big, huge state schools, small private schools, religious schools, military academies. We have an ACC that has more teams in it than the AFC. And 2 of them are overlooking the Pacific. Like, it's a mess. And so it's always going to be a mess. It's always going to be imperfect. And so this is just part of it. I think the playoff field looks great. I think if this is the big fight, this thing went off pretty much without a hitch. But I do think if you didn't have this ranking, you might have different seedings. I think Tennessee had a nice case to host a game. I don't think they ever really got considered. There's all sorts of things you could do to maybe just tweak it and make this a little bit better.
I know that one of your biggest gripes about the current system is that the second round are going to be neutral site games. And so your top 4 seeds don't get to have a game on campus. And you've made the point multiple times on your pod this season that, hey, this is an amazing marketing opportunity to have a first round game on campus, business, attention, the sites, the atmosphere, etc. Do you see in the future that being a fix? Because you're going to have to rip really good games away from the clutches of the bowl system.
Yeah, I think they're going to finally break free of some of the bowl industry. But yeah, it's a competitive. You want to make the regular season matter, give them home games. Let's consider Oregon. Oregon went 13-0. They're undeniably the number 1 team in the country. Okay, they deserve it, and their reward for being number 1 is a bye, but they're playing the winner of either Ohio State or Tennessee at a neutral site. They don't get the game at home, and they had to play a 13th game last night, and Ohio State and Tennessee will play. They only played 12. They're going to play a 13th game in a week in 2 weeks, but it'll be the same number of games. So you're not actually getting any extra rest. Your rest is just at a little different time. You're getting virtually no advantage being the number 1 seed. That game should be in Eugene, and it's good for Eugene. It's good for the fans. We're asking fans to make, if you're an Oregon fan, you live in Eugene, Oregon, you live in Portland, Oregon, you have to travel 3 times to see your team in the playoffs. I mean, could you imagine going to Roger Goodell's office right now and saying, hey, I got a plan for NFL playoffs. You know how Buffalo and Detroit might be the 1 seeds? Why don't we take all of their home games in the playoffs and put them in San Antonio and Arlington and Glendale? Much better, right? Like, you'd be thrown out of the office.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're doing here. Don't punish Oregon. And then your other part where you have the way the seedings work, they have to put the other conference champs in the top 4. Oregon is playing either Ohio State or Tennessee. Penn State, who they beat in the Big Ten championship, gets a home game against SMU, and then Boise State at a neutral site. There's no easy games in a playoff, but on paper, almost everyone would take that route better than, oh, you have to play Ohio State that has the most talented roster in the country, especially if you're not named Michigan, and you got to play them on a neutral site. Oregon got jobbed here, and they went 13-0. The only team that went 13-0.
Do you think that there's a place for rewarding the conference champions and making them the top 4 seeds, or do you think that it should just be the top 4 seeds as ranked, and then they're the ones that get moved into the second round?
I would say you're better off just ranking your top 4. I think you should just rank the field. If you want to have some little bonus, then make sure that at worst they are 7 and 8, and they get a home field in there. They can't go on the road in the first round, but anytime you're messing with the seedings, you create an imbalance in the bracket. And the imbalance in the bracket isn't as big of a deal in like March Madness, where you have to win 6 games to win a title, but it can be in a smaller event. So I would rather just say, hey, look, here are the top 12 teams. This is what we got. The Mountain West champion. Look, they do a ranking, right? Then they put them into the seeds. And this is part of the confusion. And I get it. Fans are rolling their eyes. They don't know what I'm talking about, but like, Boise State is 9th and Arizona State is 10th in the rankings, but they're 3rd and 4th in the seedings. So if Boise State earns a spot to host a game up on the blue, that'd be unbelievable. That'd be great. I'm all for it, but earn it. And I think that would create a more balanced bracket, and you wouldn't have this weird dynamic where Penn State benefited greatly by losing the Big Ten championship game, and Oregon, by winning it, advantages are pretty small.
Yeah, it almost makes you wonder if Boise State really benefits from a situation like this, because they're finally the group of 5 bracket buster, the Cinderella, and their reward is not getting a campus game. Right. Their reward is not having the atmosphere around the Smurf turf. Instead, they probably get a better team that they got to go play in the Peach Bowl or somewhere a million miles away from Boise. And I'm like, would you rather get the bye into the second round, or would you rather take the win on a big stage at home and get that moment and then know that you're kind of punting on playing in a neutral site against a bigger foe? What's better for Boise State?
Yeah, I would take that home game than a bye, because you've got a couple weeks here to rest up anyway. This is not, they're not playing each week like the NFL. Like, okay, thing starts, the season ends, bang. They're playing in 2 weeks, and then they're playing 2 weeks after that. So Boise State won't play a game for a month. Is that good? Can be, but it can also be kind of rusty, especially the other teams playing. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Also great getting to host a game. Yes, great for campus, great for your own fans who support you. I love that, a local fan, some guy from South Bend, Indiana, he and his, a couple that goes to every Notre Dame home game, but they're not rich boosters. They don't have the money to fly off to Fiesta Bowls and things like that. They're going to get to see a playoff game, right? You don't take that away from them. It's also great for these cities that care about college football. All the money is going into Austin and Columbus and State College and South Bend. And that is hotels, and that's restaurants, and that's grocery stores, and that's people renting out their house on Airbnb. I'd rather all of that economic impact go to in college football, go to places that care about college football and not just tourist destinations, Miami or Phoenix or whatever, that would do fine on its own.
Well, so the control of the sport has always been around the bowls, and these committees and these bowl directors and panels, et cetera, have manipulated ADs and chancellors and presidents forever. You really do think that the playoff now starts to rip the sport away? I mean, what happens to the director of the Rose Bowl and the Peach Bowl and the Sugar Bowl? I mean, those people don't want to lose the control over the sport. So what happens?
Well, I think when they renegotiate this thing or reset this up in a couple of years, it's going to be undeniable in 2 weeks. This 4 games are going to be incredible visuals. Hopefully we get great games. We'll see. But the value and the experience of a playoff game in State College, in Ohio Stadium, in Notre Dame, like, it's going to be so fantastic. It's impossible to sit there and say, no, this would have been so much better at the Alamo Dome. Really, trust us. Like, the proof of concept is going to be incredible here. And that's if it doesn't start doing some little movie snow or whatever. I think that there's just going to be too much momentum on it. But because look at, we can tweak it. We can say, hey, maybe Alabama deserved in, maybe not, whatever. We can do all this. This is going to be incredible. This is so much better than what we had. And we're going to get two weekends of 4 games, this and then New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. I mean, the 20th and 21st will be the best little 30 hours or whatever it's going to be of college football ever. And it's going to be exciting. It's going to be dramatic. The country's going to get really fired up. And if a team wins, you could move on. What if there's an upset? This is an overall win for college football. All the shrieking, all the complaining. This is a much big improvement for the sport.
All 4 home teams of the first round are pretty significant favorites. So which road team do you give the most opportunity to, the best chance to pull the upset? Is it the 12 seed Clemson over the 5 seed Texas, number 9 seed Tennessee going to the Horseshoe and beating Ohio State, SMU the 11 going to Happy Valley to take on Penn State, or number 10 seed Indiana going to South Bend to take on Notre Dame?
I'm going to give you more than one. One, I don't know what Texas is or isn't. What's their quarterback situation? They have not defeated, because they haven't played a great team other than Georgia. This is a team that could not put away Georgia the other day, despite Georgia being on a backup quarterback in the second half. Quinn Ewers is throwing picks. It's a little bit shaky. Clemson, they're going to walk in and house money. They're talented. They did lose to South Carolina to end their season, but it was a very good game, and South Carolina is a very good team. There's a gear that Clemson can hit. 10 points doesn't suggest that. Tennessee should be, I think Tennessee's the 7th best team in this field is what they're ranked, and they're playing the 6th best team in the field, Ohio State. Ohio State got a tough draw here. Also, Can the Buckeyes get rid of the hangover from Michigan? If they can, they go win the national championship. But the fans are totally against Ryan Day. There's frustrations. There is tense. It is extremely tense. If Ohio State gets the kick, right, goes 3 and out, are they booing already? This may not be a bad road venue for Tennessee. I could say Ohio State might have been better off going to play somewhere else where they can say it's us against the world, not us against their own fans. So there's that. And then I don't know about Indiana. Indiana's looked great against everybody except Ohio State. Didn't look terrible. Can they go up there and beat Notre Dame? They will walk in there with Kirk Cignetti as their coach. They're going to walk in thinking they can beat Notre Dame. So Indiana and Texas are kind of unknown because of the way the schedule's played out. I don't know how good they are, and that could be good or bad.
Your pick for the national championship game?
I got to look at this bracket. I would say I have not made a pick.
Do you have a national champion?
Oregon. I mean, Oregon's looked the best all year. They really haven't rattled. Having to play Ohio State in that second round is what concerns me. It's pretty chalk, but I guess I'd go Oregon and Georgia. I don't know the health of Carson Beck. Are they better off with Carson Beck? Those are the two most talented teams. The two most talented teams are Ohio State, Georgia. I'm sorry, I should have prepared for this. I'll go Oregon, Georgia. Easy. 1-2. Really out on a limb.
That's I'll take it. So before I let you go, I was wrong on this. I thought a 12-team playoff makes for a great playoff, but it would absolutely depress interest in the regular season because I just thought, well, if now Ohio State, Michigan is not an elimination game, if now Ohio State, Indiana is not an elimination game, then really do we have to watch those games the way that we used to? And I was dead wrong. The ratings have proven that the wider you swing open the door, the more people are watching college football than ever before. And my guess is this is not an anomaly. This is the new reality. Did it surprise you this year that more spots meant that even the regular season Titans that play that usually, it's do or die, really drew more eyeballs, even if the stakes were not as high as they once were?
Yeah, I was a big believer in more games will matter more. Certainly there are some differences, right? Ohio State, Michigan wasn't an elimination game. It also wasn't 2 years ago when Ohio State got in. So it hadn't really been an elimination game for sure all the time. So there were you gave some things up. There's no question. Or an early season blown game didn't ruin it. But at the end of the day, there's more teams in it. Friday night, the scene in Boise, Idaho, where they get, I'm sure it did a very nice rating on Fox, the biggest probably game, and everyone's watching because, hey, who's going to be in? Arizona State, the scene with them. More teams and more places are into it. 10 different states are represented. There's someone from every time zone. There's just more games mattered. And so I think it was great. And then with the rivalry factor, you're always going to have these things. There's always going to be that edge in college football where you can't just lose a game. Where in the NFL, as much as they try to create a rivalry, if you want to tank in the last week and sit your starters, no one's really going to be that upset if you're Pittsburgh and you just let Cleveland win or something, as tight as that rivalry is. And if you want to make it more, again, extend the home field, because then seeding matters even more if you can have home field advantage all the way through. Why are the Bills and the Lions and the Eagles and all that every game so intense right now? Because they're trying to get home field advantage in that basically semifinal, the conference championship game.
The College Football Inquirer podcast is a must-listen to for everybody out there if you want the full breakdown of this college football 12-team playoff field. And check it out. It's available now. And also, for your troubles today, Dan Wetzel, I know you're not really into this type of thing, but I am going to send you a bottle of Santo Tequila for joining us here on the show today. It is Guy Fieri and Sammy Hagar's signature bottle of tequila. And so this is going to be on your way for the holidays, and I encourage you to try it because it's delicious, and I think you'll enjoy it.
If I twist my arm, I will have a cocktail or two out of that. I mean, just to be polite, obviously.
Sure.
No, I've heard that stuff's good.
It's very good, and congratulations, by the way, on winning the race for the case yet again. This is a man of high taste buds. A case of Busch or Busch Light. Which one are
Busch
you?
Light. Busch Light.
Busch Light.
Yeah. It goes down smoother. Head for the mountains, baby.
Dan Wetzel joining us here on the show. Dan, as always, thanks, man.
Thanks, DA. Talk to you soon.
Ba ba da ba ba. Yes, Dan does something on his podcast with the co-host that he's on, best picker throughout the year. The other two have to buy a case of Busch or a case of beer for the winner, and Dan chooses Busch Light every year when he wins. So a man of high taste. I love it. I absolutely love it. Great stuff from Dan Wetzel. It is final at SoFi Stadium as the Rams edge out the Bills 44-42. And there is a sinking feeling that I have right now that my guess is many Bills fans also share, that as great, as sublime, as magnificent as Josh Allen has been this season, there is always the potential undoing lurking behind door number 1, window number 2, in the headset of Sean McDermott. Because today, despite the offense putting up 42 points and Josh Allen once again putting up incredible fantasy football numbers in a box score that leaves your eyes bulging, the defense can't get a stop when needed. The special teams allowed a blocked punt for a touchdown, and Sean McDermott kicked himself and kicked his team with time management down the stretch. There's always that thing. And this feels like a little dose of what the Bengals and Joe Burrow have dealt with this season, where Burrow has been just sensational and has done everything and more to win football games. And there's been a little thing here, a little thing there, primarily a defense that you can't trust, that has just submarine torpedoed their season. Now, of course, the Buffalo Bills are division champs. They're going to host a playoff game at the very least. They still have flickering hopes of trying to get a 1 seed, although with a loss today, they really need to hope that the Chiefs lose to the Chargers tonight. But the Bills have constantly been undone, especially in the playoffs, by something other than Josh Allen. And this year, Allen has played damn near perfect. I mean, very few chances to really rip a guy for his decision-making or his turnover stuff that he's been prone to in past years. That has not happened at all this year. And again, today, you put up 42 points and you can't hold on to a win. You can't win that ball game. It comes down to other stuff. Now, for Burrow, it's been happening all season long. For the Bills, it has not. That's the good news. But whether it's the 13-second game, the Fail Mary, the Hail Murray against the Cardinals, whether it's 4th and 19 against the Vikings a couple of years ago, a game that I was at up in Buffalo, or a number of other moments in big spots of the playoffs where the Bills just couldn't get out of their own way. Today felt a little bit like that, and it needs to stop. And it doesn't get easier next week when the Bills have the Lions. So it's okay to lose this game on the road against a pretty plucky Rams team. Los Angeles has at times this year looked far better than its record. But what's not okay is if you have magical Josh Allen games and the other parts of the team are the reason that you lose. And I think I am particularly haunted by things like this by being a Dan Marino fan. I wasn't necessarily a Dolphins fan, but I love Dan Marino. And Marino, it felt like every year had incredible stats, incredible arm, incredible offense, and something went awry. Usually it was the defense, but also maybe a lack of run game as well, lack of balance on offense. There was always something where the Dolphins weren't as good as he was. They could just not support him properly. And Shula became less effective towards the end of his career. The years with Jimmy Johnson were kind of filled with strife, at least between Marino and him. And it never got there the way that it should have gotten there. And the Bills today give that little inkling of, oh, come on, don't blow this because the rest of the team can't hold up its end of the bargain. Allen has been that good. And that image of him outstretched towards the pylon from last week in the snow against the Niners is an image for the ages. If you lose a football game, it better be because Allen had a bad day. And today, against the Rams, that is not the case. Let me say this about Friday night and the holiday office party, which is now the second year we've done this since I've joined SiriusXM. The folks that showed up, I can't thank you enough, because it's amazing to see people come from far and wide. For those that are hardcore Watch the Aliens here on this channel every Sunday night, you guys know Randy in Ohio and Wallace in Austin, Texas. Both those guys showed up on Friday night. And as always, I just have a ball with Randy. Randy, I mean, this guy is as committed as they come. I mean, you want a guy to trust in whatever endeavor you are with. Randy, I have now seen far more than most of my family. I mean, really, if you counted the people that I see most frequently, it's my wife and AJ. It is my mom and dad. It is my brother. And my sister's kind of farther down that list. And then it's the people that I work with. It's Britt, Babs, and Louie. That's kind of the list of the people that I see a lot of. Then it's Randy in Ohio. I'm not even joking. I'm not joking. I have probably seen Randy more than I've seen most of my family, extended family, in the last 6 months than I've seen them in years combined. Randy showed up in June to the Bab Bash. Okay, here in New York. He showed up to the Bills-Titans tailgate in Buffalo in October. He came to the Bob's Bar Show in November, and then he came on Friday to the office party. I mean, unbelievable. Unbelievable dedication. And his wife, Beth, is awesome. I mean, just truly, really, really amazing people. So it was awesome to see them yet again. And Wallace flew in from Texas. Wallace lives in Austin. Now, he's got family in Jersey, but he had to fly in for this. And he's like, I couldn't miss it. And he wore this amazing, ugly sweater, which had like a reindeer on it, and it matched my ugly sweater. And Wallace, as you might imagine, dude, the guy's just like salt of the earth, great guy, ton of laughs. It was awesome. And then the listeners to SiriusXM that have been there longer than I've been there that showed up were really great as well. Jay in Rhode Island and Steve in Philadelphia, and the list goes on and on and on. Robbie in Michigan flew in from Michigan. I mean, just really great. Really, really great people. Sexy Sylvia showed up. She is around Babs's town, and he met her at one of their events. And after a softball game, I believe, she brought all of her friends. That was fantastic. Britt and Chaz showed up. They were awesome. Louie was there in great spirits as well. Cody Decker showed up with his girlfriend. They're fantastic. We just had such a good group. Bob Gallerstein, update anchor, showed up. He was fun. We had people from sales, people from the office. Just, it was a great, great vibe. So I appreciate all you guys that showed up and the hardcore Watch the Aliens that came out, man. That means a lot. And I want to let you know if you missed it, because I see in the chat a lot of you guys are talking about it and want to make an event. We've already got wheels in motion for the next Bob's Bar, which is going to happen during the summer. We're not going to wait until November. And so that is the chance for us all to get together, really. And so I'm going to try to give you as much heads up as humanly possible. In fact, if it's in the summer, I might get you the date by January. So you can set up a vacation and come out to New York, see some of the sights, hang out, maybe go to the beach, what have you, because it's going to be the summer. And let's wear name tags. I think it's a great idea. I saw this in the chat as well. It's a great idea. Let's do name tags. And so everybody knows everybody. And we're going to eat, drink, and be merry. We're going to have a ton of cool stuff to give away. I know Last Dive Bar will jump all over it. Santo probably as well. We'll have tons of stuff there. And so I promise you it's going to be the party to end all parties. And I appreciate the people that have showed up to any one of our events this year. But, again, like if you're flying in, we saw – oh, man, Gordon in Vancouver and his family fly out from Vancouver for the Bob's Bar show in November. That stuff means the world to me, and I really appreciated it. It makes me feel, and all of us here on the show feel like we are really doing something that matters, and it connects, and it's valuable, and it's great to see you guys become friends with one another through the show. That makes my day. It really does. It makes my day. So thanks to everybody that showed up to any of our events over the course of 2024 and many more to come in 2025. You know what? I want to play a little Santo video here because Aiden Hatton, the Marquette Marvel, I don't know if you know this, but he is an expert cocktail artiste. That's right. Kristen in Buffalo is our gal Fieri because she makes amazing food. I was looking at this the other day that actually this week, week 14, she took the Seahawks and the Cardinals and the football food of the week. Listen to this. This should inspire you. Kristen did, to combine Seattle and Arizona, chimichangas stuffed with fresh Atlantic salmon, salsa on top, cheese, topped with a jalapeno cream sauce, and chives. How about that again? Chimichangas stuffed with fresh Atlantic salmon, salsa and cheese in it, topped with a jalapeno cream sauce and chives. Oh, my God. Sounds amazing. What a great creative outlet that Kristen has given all of us with these football foods of the week. Far better than some type of French onion dip with bacon. A little bit better than that. A little bit better than a chili that Mraz would give us, or just to yet another cheese dipped queso. But on that point, watch this video, because talking about Santo Tequila and making cool stuff, how about Aiden stepping up to the plate? Watch this.
Oh, didn't see you there. This is the Dun King, aka the Marquette Marvel, stunting the real Halloween costume from the Super Bowl ad this year. And we are about to make the apple cider margarita from our friends at, oh, you want to be in too? Santo Tequila. That's right. Signed by Guy Fieri. Let's make that apple cider margarita. 2 cups of apple cider. Don't you love that? Half cup of Santo Tequila, the most important ingredient. And finally, half cup of freshly squeezed lemon juice. Mix that together. All right. Once you're as shaken as me after DA skips a topic on our rundown.
I'm looking at the end of the rundown, and I tossed Terrell Suggs. That was out of order. That is my fault.
You're going to pour it straight into the glass. I got a little strainer here to cover the ice. Oh, wait. That's not going to work. This is going to work. Oh, you go on top of this. That's why. We take our rim and just go right around. Make a nice little rim there for yourself. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're not bartenders, we're the aliens. Cinnamon, sugar, little salt. Let's just pour that in, what we just made. Hey, it's not perfect, but it's the Marquette Marvel way. And finally, an apple slice to garnish right on that beautiful rim. Boom. And there you have it, the Marquette Marvels version of the apple cider margarita presented by Santo. It wasn't perfect, but we got it done. And you know what? It is going to taste perfect, though. Let's try it out. Oh, so appley. I probably just hit my mic. WatchDALive@gmail.com, at Damon Amendo, at Aiden T. Hatton. Show us your apple cider marg or another Santo Tequila cocktail of your own, and we will show it on the show. Cheers.
That was really good. That was shockingly really good. Yeah, wow. I'm very, very impressed. For those that are impressed by Aiden's delivery and his natural camera charisma, last week he was going to do something called a short stack, a Sunday short stack, which was a quick recap of all of the games that we did not see on Sunday, the football games, the NFL games that happened on Thanksgiving. So we had this whole thing set up, and he had the whole script set up, and then I blew through it. I totally forgot to toss to it. So in post, he ended up doing this, and I posted this on our YouTube channel. So go back and watch it because it's really funny. And Aiden, I got to tell you, that was just as good. In fact, I really like you making cocktails, and I particularly like you wearing a Dunkin' Donuts Dun King outfit as you do it. For some reason, it feels a lot more official that way.
Yeah, well, thank you. That means a lot because in our little screen here, I can see you laughing underneath the video at certain fumbles, let's say, of my cocktail making abilities. And, Kristen gives me props here in the chat. Thanks for the shout out. Aiden's quite the actor. Aiden, the modern 2020s version of Tom Cruise in Cocktail. We also got a let's collaborate on cocktails. And then my favorite, which you also loved, he must have a ramen noodles outfit. That's from Spencer. So no, I do not carry all of the chain restaurant brands in 90s jumpsuit fashion, although that would be a really good wardrobe for me.
I really like that. I think I like particularly how you were shaking that so violently at first.
Well, that was sped up. That's post-production editing, speaking of post. So I'm not actually that vibrationally challenged, if you will.
Oh, man. That was good. Nice job, Aiden.
Is that an orange Julius with booze? Unfortunately not. He almost broke the apple slice from Cigar City Capo. Yes. That, on my own end of things, that was the most anxiety-inducing part of the video when I realized, oh, shoot, the only thing that's keeping this from falling apart is the skin of the apple, just like the skin of your teeth. And obviously not knowing how to use a strainer, also A+.
Very good. I love it. Well, it is time for some beam ups here. So, Aiden, why don't we should we do beam ups or should I rip the A's? What do you think is better right now? Maybe I should just rip the A's before we get to the beam ups.
I think instead of me being on camera for another 5 minutes before ripping the A's, it would just be delaying things. So Let's rip the A's, shall we?
All right. Yeah, shall we? All right. So this week has just been more evidence that the Oakland A's as an organization are truly criminals. I mean, really, they are criminals. And it is extraordinary that baseball has allowed this to transpire. If anything taught us really who the A's were, it's this week, is it not? John Fisher has owned the A's for 20 years. 20. And you almost have to go back that long to find a contract as large as the one they just handed out to Luis Severino. Okay? They have not handed out a contract ever under John Fisher, ever, as large as the one they just gave Luis Severino. You got to go back to Eric Chavez. Eric Chavez. You know how long ago Eric Chavez's free agent deal is? For the last time they spent even this much money. Now think about this. John Fisher convinced everybody in baseball that, well, I can't spend any money. The ballpark, the attendance. Where's the money going to come from? Nobody shows up. And they are 5 minutes into a minor league baseball stadium in Sacramento, and suddenly the money's flowing. Suddenly they can't turn off the fire hose. The first big splash signing of baseball's winter, or one of them, comes from the A's. The A's, they're not in Vegas yet. They're playing in a 10,000-seat AAA ballpark. And suddenly it's, well, now we have plenty of money to spend. What makes you look more fraudulent than that? What makes you look like a bigger criminal than that? Okay, so that's the first part of this. Baseball, he was lying to you all along. And maybe they knew. Maybe they knew. But I mean, is this not the greatest evidence that bellyaching about the ballpark and the attendance as the reason we can't spend money was always the biggest lie possible? I mean, they're playing in a minor league baseball stadium. They have now a percentage of their local television revenue. A percentage, it's not even the full cut because they moved out of Oakland. And now suddenly they got the cash to burn. Okay, now, this week also, if you haven't been following along, we have a new price tag on the Vegas stadium. And the price tag has now jumped to nearly $2 billion. It has jumped by $250 million, okay? It's now at $1.75 billion. And the extra $250 million is going to be added to the Fisher family tab. And John Fisher says, I'm good for it. And he's got his letters now filed to Las Vegas to prove, look, we've got the financing. If John Fisher had ponied up a half of that in Oakland, the ballpark could have been done 15 years ago. So what was the last 15 years? What was the last 10 years? What was the last 5 years? All these quote-unquote negotiations that John Fisher was in or Dave Kaval was in were all dog and pony shows. If this happens, then they always had the money. They always had the financing. They always could have made it work. But they said, no, we need this. No, we need this site. No, we need Howard Terminal. No, we need the property. No, we need the retail. No, we need this. We need this. We need this. This is extraordinary. They're not getting any of that in Las Vegas. And now suddenly the A's are just like, oh yeah, an extra $250 million bucks? No problem. Now, we'll all believe it when we see it. We all have to hold our nose with all these, claims that John Fisher and company are making and the A's are making that they're good for it. We'll see. We'll see. But I mean, it is just so obvious that the last 20 years, baseball has watched a guy purposefully kill the sport in the city that he bought the ball team in. That much is very evident right now. That John Fisher never had any intention of doing anything in Oakland, despite all of his, no, we tried. No, obviously you did it because when you do try, it seems like there's money. When you didn't try, it was, well, see, there's no cash. Whether it works in Vegas or not is not my bag, because I have nothing against Las Vegas residents and baseball fans there. You know what? That's not my battle to fight. My battle to fight is this has been an execution of a baseball city, blindfolded and lined up and shot. I mean, John Fisher said, we'll kill baseball here. That's what we'll do. We will kill it. We will not invest any money. We will not sign free agents. We will not retain our guys. Every time we win, we will rip it down, strip it down. We will not invest in the ballpark. We will not invest in marketing. We will not invest in our fan relationship. We will not invest in the community. We will do none of that. And we will sit there and watch it deteriorate until it is basically dead. And when it is dead, then we will leave. And even then, there was a heartbeat of the good people of Oakland that did not want to see it leave. Even when he killed it, he tried to actively kill it, and baseball watched him actively try to kill it. There was still a heartbeat of the good people and the soul of A's fans that loved it so much that filled up that ballpark on September 26th to say goodbye. I mean, is that not the definition of criminal? He took a franchise and said, I am going to kill it. I will kill it here. I will destroy this here. And then I will move it. And when I move it, then I will do the things that I didn't do, even though I could have. What more needs to be said? All right, time now for some beam ups, everybody. Let's do this. Time for some beam ups. Let's hear from you guys, the D-aliens, the watch D-aliens, before we get out of here. Let's go. Aiden Hatton, what do we got? We got last dive bar stuff to give away. You know, around here, we only communicate, we only collaborate, we only do wonderful things with wonderful people, and that includes Last Dive Bar. Just had a great conversation with Brian from LDB Last Dive Bar and all of his apparel, all of his merch. And let me tell you, in 2025, we are popping around here in Watch TA Live. Let me tell you, if you have always wanted to rep the show with cool gear, me and Brian had this amazing conversation, and we have the wheels in motion for badass Watch DA Live gear. All right? That's going to be awesome coming up in the new year. As I get more information, I will tell it to you. So before we get there, we got Last Dive Bar stuff to give away. Great Oakland theme stuff. Such cool artwork. Such good people. So I want to give away some stuff here. What do we got, Aiden?
And this gear will forever live on, which is why it's exciting to be a winner. And our winner is going to be our friend Ralph Limbrick Jr. He's very upset. Bama's not in the playoffs. Let him go to a regular bowl. Bama's not in the playoffs. Watch him cry, bitch, and moan. That sounds like a guy that is plenty happy that Kalen DeBoer did not make the 12 team in his first year.
It also almost sounds like a haiku or some type of limerick. It feels like
that's why I was like, this is very poetic.
Yeah, Ralph, nice job. Limerick Limbic right there. So we're going to have to give you some Last Dive Bar swag here. We'll get your address and hook you up with a T-shirt, okay, and get that out to you. And the guys at Last Dive Bar want to let you know that all of you guys, the Watch the Aliens out there, use code Mothership for 15% off. It makes for a great holiday gift, let me tell you. They got hoodies. It's the perfect time of year for hoodies. They got T-shirts. They got kitchenware like glasses and shot glasses and mugs and cool stuff like that. So certainly hook yourself or somebody else up with some Last Dive Bar gear. And I'm going to double you up here, Aiden, because one of our very own Watch the Aliens is caught in a bad spot tonight because right now Moist Pork is watching the show from a wedding. Okay, now talk about commitment. He has sent me a picture of the food on the table, and he's got, I hope that's a drink in hand. It looks like it is a cocktail of some sort. Maybe it's a beer. But he says, DA, I'm in Baltimore. I'm watching on YouTube, on my phone, at a wedding. Shame on them for scheduling a wedding during Watch DA Live. No. Hashtag wedding booski. Hashtag nothing will stop me. I mean, how about this? Moist Pork is having beers at a wedding right now and watching the show on his phone. Talk about commitment. I handed Moist Pork some stuff when we were from Last Dive Bar over at Bob's Bar, but I got to give him something else because, man, that is stepping up. Is it not? Moist Pork watching the show from the wedding. We love it.
And he's commenting in real time at 8:10 p.m. Eastern time. Whoop, whoop. Congratulations, Ralph. And Moist, we're just going to reward you as well. And dude, you should. Okay, he just chimed in again. Boondocks Bourbon. That's what he's drinking as an FYI.
Oh, okay. Boondocks Bourbon. Very nice. All right. We love it. Nice job. Well, it's great to see the D-Aliens come together here. It is always great to do this Sunday night show. And before we get out of here, we always remember our good friend, Little Mo, because Mo would laugh with us during our overnight days on CBS Sports Radio. And it is time to laugh once again with Little Mo, as we like to do at the end of every show. And let's see, tonight we have the Vikings in the middle of their win against the Falcons celebrating the movie White Chicks. Okay, this is a Wayans family extravaganza, you might remember. I think this is Sean and Marlon. And here we go. We have these two guys. We have the two guys on the left from White Chicks and the Vikings celebrating the dance from the movie. Now, that's pretty amazing. There's also a little house party in there, Kid and Play in there as well. But these moves probably inspired by Kid and Play, enacted by the Marlins boys. And here you go from the Vikings game as they reenact the dance. So that's pretty awesome. So Little Mo, I'm sure, will be laughing at that today. He's laughing somewhere, I am sure. So big ups to the Vikings for making us all laugh today here on Watch DA Live. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight here on the program. Thanks to executive producer Aiden Hatton. Thanks to also Carter Bainbridge, who has joined the team as an associate producer with videos. So if you see those YouTube shorts out there, Carter's all over that. Ethan Frank is all over our video editing as well for some of our long-form videos. Also, this whole team comes together each and every week and tries to bring together a great Watch DA Live experience and the YouTube channel. Make sure you are subscribed by clicking on this button below me. Hit the button below it and make sure you are subscribed to be one with the channel and share this experience with your friends and your family, your coworkers. Let them know around the holidays. This is where we congregate on Sunday nights to have fun, be good, and be good to one another, okay? That's what we do. We're feeling good and doing well. Until next Sunday, everybody, be good and be good to one another. I will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early on Sirius XM Channel 82 with the DA Show with Babchick on Mad Dog Sports Radio. We'll see you then, everybody. Have a good night.